Stepping into Juba Central Prison was like entering a kind of hell. The heat, the stench, and here were these men, many chained to the floor, some naked, covered in flies and excrement. I remember thinking, this is truly horrendous. Unfortunately, I would discover that this is not a unique case. My name is Robin Hammond. I'm a photojournalist from New Zealand, living in South Africa. My work predominantly focuses on human rights issues. We know wars and famines and natural disasters tragically kill a lot of people. What we don't talk about is those who survive and how their experience of these events impact their lives. Another less than obvious outcome of conflict and disaster is that funds get diverted away from healthcare. In many African countries, there is no budget for mental health. Everyone I met in Mogadishu had either lost a family member or been injured themselves in fighting. The physical signs of war are everywhere. Less evident is the mental impact. The mentally ill are hidden away. There aren't any psychiatrists in Mogadishu. Even where there are hospitals, there is very little or no treatment. The mentally ill are managed by chaining and incarcerating them. Even in camps and homes, the mentally disabled are restrained with chains. I met people who've been chained for years. I met one boy in a refugee camp who had been tied to a stick for 11 of his 13 years. We think of malnutrition as something that wastes the body. But the worst health impact, especially for children, can be on the brain. Malnutrition can severely impair brain development. Most of us are lucky enough to escape the trauma of conflict. Most of us will never experience the sense of loss when forced to abandon our home. And fortunately, most of us will never know the brutality of gang rape. Even with all the professional help available to us, it is hard to imagine how one would cope. In most of Congo, none of that help exists. Religious leaders are often the only people to offer any form of comfort. Most people with mental illness or disability are resigned to dark corners of institutions or homes. They are often completely neglected. The LRA continue to terrorize northern DRC. I met a 12-year-old girl, Simba. She escaped from her kidnappers. She spoke about witnessing executions and how she was forced to kill other children. Médecins Sans Frontières provides some emergency counseling to victims of the LRA. It is something at least, but these people need so much more help. The LRA's signature is to cut off fingers, ears or lips. The population live in constant fear. War doesn't just leave behind dead or traumatized people. It destroys infrastructure and systems that should be there to aid and protect people with mental disability. In the end, families that struggle to cope often abandon their mentally disabled child, or resort to chaining them, or just hide them away. There are a few organizations and dedicated individuals trying to improve things for the mentally ill in African countries in crisis, but they are tiny in number and their resources are small. In most cases, governments, the aid community and societies have abandoned the mentally ill. Why do the mentally ill not get the attention they deserve? Is it a case of out of sight, out of mind? I want to make sure they can't ignore it anymore. I have self-funded this work to South Sudan, Somalia, Uganda, Congo and northern Kenya, essentially East Africa. Before I can take this further, I need to document mental health in African countries in crisis on the other side of the continent. With your help, I intend to go to Côte d'Ivoire, which is recovering from a brutal civil war, to Chad, which is flooded with refugees fleeing genocide in Darfur, to the Central African Republic, whose southeastern communities live in fear of the Lord's Resistance Army, and to Nigeria, where inequality and lawlessness has resulted in the victimization of children. The treatment of the mentally ill in these countries is a gross injustice that needs to be exposed. I haven't come across a more vulnerable and abused group of people. Any humanitarian work must start with awareness, but the mentally ill in Africa have no voice. I need you to help me to give them one. Just about everybody has abandoned these people. Let's not do it too. Please support this project. Thank you.